All right. Open my thing back up. Where's the agenda? Oh yeah. Well, at 5:08, we'll call the executive committee meeting for the Otter Creek Communications Union District to order. First order of business are a general updates, review of the RFP with possible feedback from Rod Fish. So I met we've gone we've man, how about you speak? I'm having problems right now. I don't know if I'm having a stroke or what. Keep
No,
an eye
that's
out for
all
me
right.
if I drop off the screen.
We got some changes from Rob Fish. Christine was going to send some changes, but we never heard back from her. So we took Rob Fish's notes and comments, some of which we didn't understand how they related, but we just incorporated them and got back to having at least a draft. So stuck it as a PDF and sent that out. I know it was too late really to do a good overview of it here, but we wanted to get something out. So you've got that now to digest. Sorry, my screen's now being weird. That's all right. That's all right. Stop that.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So it was a, surprisingly long process of incorporating those changes and going back and forth to make sure we have a document that makes somewhat sense. And I'm sure you guys have all read through it already, all 15 pages and, in the ensuing 5 hours, but
just got it.
Yeah. If you guys just want to take a look and if there's anything that sticks out to you guys, let us know. Our hopes are to get this out within the week, ideally. I mean, I think the sooner, after our attorneys have looked at it, 2 weeks tops, but to get this out. So I've actually had CCI reach out twice and be like, so where's that RFP? We want to answer it. So, so they're trying to plan for next year and incorporate, answering our RFP and possibly putting plans for doing some of the work if they are chosen by us.
So Bill, I take it that a lot of that language and stuff was lifted from other RFP type things. It wasn't all originally made up, correct?
Yeah, no.
I didn't get a chance to look at all, I just barely started looking at it, but it's like, you look very formal. So I will go over it.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, especially this, the executive committee should definitely have a look at this and just see and make sure, if you have any questions, and more eyes are better than 6 eyes, or
Okay.
8 eyes if you count Rob. So with that,
Bill, in your communication with Rob Fish, has he
yes.
said anything about Southern Vermont CUD and what they're doing, if they're doing the similar thing?
So let's see. I was gonna bring that. We're a pretty small group. I was gonna bring that up with probably in the VCBB updates, but we can talk about it now. So it's been made known to us that their NTIA grant was denied.
Denied, yeah.
And so I don't know what their next steps are. I know that Rob has suggested that we reach out to them to talk about the possibility of a merger, them or Maple. Didn't really get any sort of clarification on exactly what that would look like, whether we would dissolve or whether or what they're anticipating. We're going forward with RFP,
yeah,
regardless. We have an MOU with them with Southern Vermont to share information. That's it. Back when Jeff Such was their chair, in the middle of this, and end of 2020 into the beginning of 2021, toward the end of 2020. Actually, Jeff Such was a really involved member, and we had a lot of communication, and then it just died off when he left, and they went their own way. And sort of same thing with Maple. Like Maple's kind of gone in a completely different direction. You know, they potentially selected a partner in Waitsfield Valley Telecom, and building their own network and overbuilding in Otelco areas and CCI areas. So those are the two CUDs that we would possibly merge with or look to work with. Yeah, and I guess, I mean, aside, I don't want to bully anybody and thinking I don't know what this is going to mean for us and what Rob really means by that. Personally, and this is my, just as Bill Moore, not as chair, I don't see how we could merge with either one of them right now. I mean, Southern Vermont maybe, because their model looks a little closer to what we were looking at, but with Maple, I mean, they had no interest in working with this right from the start. So the idea of, hey, you guys want to do some more work for us, and take, I mean, there's no connection there. But who knows? It could change. And if the state says you guys need to merge, and these are with whom you need to merge, then that's something a bridge we'll have to cross when we get to it.
In a recent, just a few minutes ago, conversation with Amanda, she was saying that we could reach out to the Bennington Regional Planning. They call it a little bit differently, because they're handling it for Southern Vermont, and they would probably be a really good source to see where they are. I reached out to, I think his name is Terry Dorsey. He's on the governing board representing Southern Vermont CUD on OCCUD about project manager, and he wasn't aware that they've even gotten that far yet. So,
Wow.
Yeah, that's what he said. He could be wrong, but then he gave me some names to reach out to make sure that he's not making a mistake on this. So,
Blair, I mean, yeah, you do a lot with Vicuda. I didn't know if maybe you wanted to continue down that road, maybe of reaching out just to find out what's going on with Southern Vermont and the regional planning.
Yeah, on the Vicuda, it's like Otter Creek in Southern Vermont. We're doing our own thing with, reaching out to an ISP already, where the others, they're pretty much building from scratch. The way it looks, we're doing a different thing. So, so we can reach out to see what, make a phone call and find out just where they are on this. So
that'd be great.
Yep.
Thank you. So moving on from that, our B was giving towns a head up about OCUD's hopes for ARPA matching funds. That was that conversation we were having a little while ago with the that state formula that they'd set up for the Act 71, the Vermont, that first $100 million, and then the other $16 million chunk that they would match with ARPA funds if the town's committed based on their miles of unserved. I'm no further on that conversation. I don't know.
I sent out the just a rough draft. I just took a shot at taking what Will had sent me from OCCUD and included just some upfront language that might help us go in there. I mean, basically, we're just saying, if you could see your way clear to allocate funds to us or dedicate funds, it's easy to do. The advantage to you is we'll handle all the paperwork associated with that donation or that allocation, because we could do it as one group for all towns. They made it sound very easy. Will did in his write-up. There's several ways they can allocate the money just by a board order or an MOU, something that just says, yes, we're going to allocate our $16,000 so that you can get that matching funds assigned to us. I believe I sent that out to all of you. Got that?
Yes.
Yeah. Like I say, I'm not an elegant writer, but I took my best shot at it.
I think it's great, first of all. And I also think that, it's sort of a town by town kind of feel out, right? I mean, like, we've got these talking points, but you're going to be able to gauge what's going to work in your town,
Yeah.
And I always think about those points of being that these are matching funds. Like that money's going to double. Granted, it's going to the CUD, but like that's going to go, toward you, maximize your money. It's that I keep it likening to the VPR thing because
Yeah, it's exactly
really,
right.
and they're in the middle of a campaign right now, guys. So be careful when you turn the radio on. But but
that
that's
MOU, I think, is a big selling point because the way it was worded, that a select board can issue an MOU for whatever the amount is. Of course, we already know about the leveraging from the VCBB to match it. And I think it stated that the money, the ARPA funds, would not be released by the select board until actual construction started in the town, the build out. So that's a huge selling.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So that may be enough to send off to the board. I welcome any input. Or should we send that to the whole board and at the next board meeting next week, say, here's your papers. Now go and get them.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I think it should be, like part of the board packet or whatever on the agenda. And we can sort of talk about the sale of it
Okay.
at the meeting.
I'll include that in their agenda if it's not there.
Mine's easy because I chair the select board, so have an inside track there, huh?
Well, as a select board chair, what do you think sells it for you?
What sells it is from day one, before the final rule from the US Treasury Department was talking about infrastructure, and broadband has always been out there. And so with the final rule, there was an email that came from, it was regards to, it wasn't from VLCT. I think I got it through VCUDA. It was from VLTC, just telling everyone to take a pause because they still need to interpret the final rule. There are still questions there because it's talking about flexibility. And then the last sentence, in using ARPA funds for government services. So now we're going back, well, what does that mean, government services? We're talking about flexibility and using the ARPA funds, but now you've got this government services. So now they're going back to try to find out what that means. So they said that they're recommending a pause right now until they get back to us, so.
A pause of even collecting the MOU from the town?
Just a pause of allocating ARPA funds.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. To define what that government services is, so.
Any more questions from anybody? Andrew, Chris, Jackie? All right. Moving on, reappointment of board members. So I'd like to say that I've done all the work on this and looked up and found exactly like how we should be going about doing this. Did we talk to Rob about it during one of those, during that meeting?
We mentioned it and he didn't seem to didn't believe that it was a super well-defined process, sort of whatever week. He made it sound loose, right? That was 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was my feeling as well. It was just kind of like whatever you guys decide you're going to do. And so I guess we got to come up with a policy. Perhaps, adoption of a policy will clean that up for us. And just saying that, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be, I mean, I feel like as simple as possible. If you're appointed by your select board, you are the member of note or the rep of note from your town, unless the board's been notified of your resignation or removal.
I do believe, Bill, that here in Hubbardton, I was reaffirmed by the select board for this year, and that did go into the minutes.
Okay.
So that's how we handled it in Hubbardton.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe, and actually that's fantastic that you mentioned, because maybe that's a better way to approach it, is just one, to remind select boards that these positions exist, to have that reaffirmation happen.
I would think it should come from the town, because they're the ones that appointed in the first place. And I'm not a representative of myself. I'm a representative of the town. So that government should have every responsibility to, put me there or not put me there.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Well, when we go out and ask for allocations of ARPA funds from our towns, we can just ask them to make a motion and get it in the minutes that the representatives can remain in place.
That's exactly what we did. Yep.
That sounds like the simplest, cleanest way to do it.
All right. Can we put that in a reminder, or make that a part of the on the agenda for the next meeting, to
Okay.
remind reps to approach their select boards about their reappointment. And I think that actually our April meeting will be our reorganizational meeting for us. And the slate of officers and those kinds of things. I think that we need to make sure that's on the agenda for
We're
next meeting as
speaking
well.
of the executive, this meeting here, officers, right?
Yes, but I think also too, potentially our officers for the general board as well.
Okay. Oh, okay, like secretaries and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Currently we are secretary-less. I think that Cassandra has resigned as secretary, and so we don't have, Van has been operating as secretary, which is fantastic, but there should be a board member that is represented on that. So I think
And I see these nice notes at the bottom of my screen capturing every word.
that's
Pretty
right.
Gonna say Zoom is the secretary.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zoom.
Yeah. Put that wall of text when we post those for minutes. People will love reading through them.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so that's just something for us to think about for our April meeting, is those officers. I'll yeah. Yeah, let's see, let me get back to the okay. Report VCBB updates. Do we have any updates on the VCBB information? Is there any extra funding? Do we know? I mean, I've heard nothing. I'll be honest, I have not been following closely at the State House what's been going on with funding for this next fiscal year and what they're going to give the VCBB to hand out. Has anybody else been wonking it up, checking that out? Yeah.
No.
Our first year doing this, and if Amanda here, she'd attest to it. We spent a lot of time going to all of those meetings around Zoom, testifying, getting our hopes up. And I've always felt like it's never worth getting excited until the ink is dried on those bills and the governor signed them, because seeing things just change overnight, and suddenly we had Act 250 reform, then it was gone. So those, I try not to get too involved. If there's anybody on this board that wants to be that person, have at it. Okay. So yeah, aside from the, few emails we get from Rob, I think we just, are reaching out to our reps. There's been nothing groundbreaking that's come across my desk. I don't know if Larry, you've seen anything.
Not really on the VCBB, but VCUDA through Will Anderson has approached the VCBB about a purchase agreement. I think pretty much when we put a CUD puts in an order for either fiber optic cable or hardware, that they can get the money ahead of time and not wait until it's delivered, because sometimes there might be a down payment or something and there's a gap in time. So that's being brought to the VCBB board. I don't know how they're going to act on it. So keep an eye on that one.
Okay.
And the wait time for cable and hardware, it's significant. Because it's nationwide, the demand for cable and hardware.
Which I think is sort of another reason, why I love our approach and soliciting somebody who already has those lines versus trying to build on our own or a smaller carrier potentially. I don't know.
Yeah.
Discussion of the H315 status and pre-construction grant H360. Is that a Jackie? Jackie.
I do. I have a great update actually, because in today's mail, we received hot off the press our $63,000 check.
Woo-woo! We're solving.
For the, I know, it's very exciting actually. So this is the second half of our H315 money. So I will get this deposited tomorrow morning and we will be good to continue paying bills the next few months.
Perfect.
Fantastic news, Jackie. Thank you.
Speaking of paying bills, I received an invoice from VCUDA for our dues of $9,500. Invoice number 1005 has not been paid. The due date, March 5th, 2022. But we were informed by Will Anderson that we wouldn't have to pay our dues until we got a pre-construction. So I haven't responded to this. I just got this. So I'll probably contact Will first to make sure that's in the clear. I know when it comes time to pay that invoice, Rob Fish, said to submit a request from VCBB for those funds. So apparently Will told us in Southern Vermont is in the same boat as we are as far as pre-construction, that we didn't have to pay the dues, not obligated to pay the dues until we had a pre-construction grant. But apparently
Or a construction.
someone at VCUDA is not aware of what Will told us. So I'll straighten that out. I'll send an email out to Will.
Thanks, Larry.
See what he says, and then I'll contact VCUDA with whatever Will tells us, or have Will straighten it out. So.
Well, we might be getting closer to with that pre-construction grant, the H360, and sort of, I guess this could be a part of that same conversation of creating an RFQ, RFP, a request for services for a project manager, a subcontractor for a project manager for this, for us to hire on to work this in a more full-time basis. Van, you sent around a job description which looked really good. I didn't know if somebody with a better background, as far, better than I, around human resources, wanted to take a look at that and word it in a way that is, well, I guess it's something for us to discuss. We don't want to, I didn't think we wanted an employee and that we wanted to have a subcontractor work and do this work for us, right? And so if we could just take
Yes, absolutely no employees.
So if we could take Van's work, and if somebody wanted to volunteer to convert that into something that looked more like a request for a sub, that'd be fantastic. If anyone was bored, and we could put it out to the full board if we wanted to, potentially, if executive committee didn't want to do that.
Is this an independent contractor? Is that what we're hiring? And
Yes.
not an employee?
Not an employee.
Then it's, yeah.
Correct.
I mean, I
And-
can take
Yeah,
a
I
shot.
can, I can help.
Okay,
Thanks, Jack.
Yeah.
And again, I think I know at least, like once we get that out, there may be at least, I know somebody that a subcontractor that may be interested in applying. So,
super.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would they be interested in writing that?
I don't think they could do that.
Is that wrong?
So, yeah.
I think in response to that, that's also when Amanda told me to, or told us to reach out to the Bennington Regional Planning.
Perfect.
I'll do that. I'll do that at the same time.
Thank you.
And see if they went with an independent versus an employee. And then the whole tax obligation, that's on an independent contractor, is how they handle that. So,
Well, yeah. And it seems like that would be
Yeah.
more attractive.
well, yeah, when you have an employee, that's a big deal. That's they roll taxes and yeah, that's a tough one.
my wife's organization does it. They where they're independent contractors basically, but as employees, they give them a 1099 at the end of the year.
Yeah.
They get paid if they work. They don't get paid if they don't. And that seems to be pretty straightforward. Now, I don't do books or accounting, so everything seems straightforward to me. But I didn't know if that was one model.
Accounting side of it, yeah, it will be much easier for us if we can keep it as an independent contractor and not do any of the payroll stuff.
Okay.
Because payroll will just add too many headaches for especially for one employee.
Yeah, and Larry, we had one that was written by one of the other CUDs. We had a proposal. So maybe I can send that and the job description I wrote, and Jackie and I can mash those together.
Sure. Yeah. Was there an hourly rate in any of the proposals? That's to be determined, or?
So that's where, like, I think we would get in trouble. Like from my experience as a rec director in hiring people versus subcontractors, the IRS is pretty specific about, everyone would be a subcontractor if companies had their way, because they don't have to pay payroll tax, no unemployment. But at the point at which we start directing those numbers is where we get in trouble. So if we say, well, we'll do it for only $100 an hour, $125 an hour, versus them answering an RFP and us making a decision about whether or not it's acceptable for us. That's
Okay.
where we don't get hammered by the IRS, I think. And it was like this ABC about directing them and them being able to have their, answering something versus being directed to be at a spot, 40 hours a week or 25 hours a week, so good.
You
Well, great.
actually might be able to write it either way. So based on, time worked at this rate versus like the total project is going to be this amount of money.
Right.
So that's something that we might be able to look at.
Yeah, you could do a not to
Because I'm
exceed.
sure, depending on, depending on like where the project is also going to depend on how much work is involved. So, at one point we're going to be way overpaying, at another rate, we're going to be underpaying, and they may not want to either give quality service or the work won't get done.
Right.
And then
Appreciate-
You have
I'm
to
sorry.
fine tune the starting date and how long this position could be for. And we don't know a starting date yet, so.
Right. Well, I appreciate you guys working on that.
Yeah. Delegate, delegate.
That's fantastic. You guys are doing a great job.
That's a sign of a good chair right there.
Um, uh, financials, if available from Seward, we got. Did we get financials from Seward?
I do not have this
Okay.
month's financials
Okay.
yet.
Okay,
We do have a warrant though,
Yeah.
okay.
that I sent everybody a copy of. It's not on there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, sorry.
that's in financials, right? It's a warrant. It's financials.
It's part of financials.
Yeah.
Right. Anyone want to make a motion?
Yeah.
Do we approve the warrant? Or do sorry, it's been
Yeah, we
been a
do.
day, man. Yeah. Anyone want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the warrant in the amount of $15,248.54.
Second.
And I'll second, yeah.
Larry, then Andrew. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Eyes appears to have it. The eyes do have it. We get to spend some money this month. Fantastic. Any other business? All right. Seeing none, set our next meeting. This is Wednesday, the second Wednesday of the month. Work for everybody still?
Yes,
Yeah.
don't change it.
Yes.
Screw it
Don't
up.
change. Won't change it.
Yeah.
April 13th.
April 13th. Oh, Wednesday the 13th. Oh no.
Yeah.
And then agenda item number 8.
Motion to adjourn.
The motion. Second from Andrew. Non-debatable. All those in
Yes.
favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you guys.
Aye.
Thanks for we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Okay.
Here.
Thanks.
Super.
Bye.
Thanks.